There are 7 heroes that perfectly represent the 7 deadly sins. In today's video, we'll be going over each of them, starting with greed. Overwatch is a bright and colorful game, but make no mistake, Overwatch's cast is filled with vile and evil people. People who have done disgusting things. But when it comes to an insatiable desire for material gain, there is only one character that perfectly embodies this idea. A criminal who's willing to blow up anyone in their way. An explosive, obsessed freak who's on a number of most wanted lists. While Jameson Fox, aka Junkrat, has a goofy and fun personality, he's actually insane. A wanted criminal, murderer, and thief, he is obsessed with money. The payload on Junkertown is actually Roadhog and Junkrat's collection of treasure gathered from their international heists. They plan to hide bombs in it, wheel it into Junkertown, and kill Junker Queen. Junkrat is also constantly babbling about his infamous treasure, which he promised 50% of to Roadhog for protection from Junker Queen and her guards, who also want the treasure. With a creed of no job too big, no score too small, it's clear to see how Junkrat embodies greed. I can't think of anything more greedy than crime sprees, international thievery, and hoarding treasure. Greed is front and center in Junkrat's King Jameson skin. In the skin, he's covered head to toe in gold, with diamond-studded weapons, gem-dotted knuckles, a literal golden crown, and dollar-sign patterned pants. Junkrat screams, "I want it, and I want it all." Junkrat is the perfect hero to represent greed. Uncontrolled anger, unbridled rage, unfettered hatred, violence, wrath. We all feel anger at times, but when you are angry for good reasons, the lines between righteousness and sin begin to blur. Ramattra is an Omnic Ravager, a model originally designed for war. However, after the Omnic Crisis and seeing his kind be hunted to near extinction, he sought peace as a member of the Shambali. He advocated for harmony between humans and Omnics, but witnessing the persistent suffering and oppression of his kind at human hands fueled a growing wrath within him. He grew more and more angry with humanity. He loathed how slow the push for peace was moving. Consumed by his anger, he abandoned pacifism, the monastery, and his best friends in Yada to found Null Sector, a militant Omnic liberation group. He adopted aggressive tactics to fight for Omnic rights and survival. His journey, marked by the sin of wrath, reflects the transformation of righteous anger into a destructive force, driving him to embrace conflict as a necessary means to achieve justice. While Ramattra's goals are noble, his methods are sinful. Ramattra is furious with humanity. He hates the way they have treated his people. His rage knows no bounds. He will stop at nothing to free the Omnics. His wrath has led him from a path of peace to one of violence, and for that, Ramattra perfectly represents the sin of wrath. There are many Overwatch heroes that are over the top, characters that are larger than life and go beyond normal, but our next hero takes it a step further. If I was forced to describe the sin of gluttony in one word, it would be overindulgence. Mauga embodies the sin of gluttony, not through food, but through his insatiable appetite for chaos and battle. A charismatic and cunning Samoan warrior, Mauga thrives on the excesses of the battlefield, living life with reckless abandon. His immense size and strength, augmented by a second cybernetic heart, symbolize his voracious desire for power and domination. Once a more serious person, his cybernetic enhancements transformed him into a hedonist who indulges in the thrill of combat and destruction. Raised by the rebellious deep-sea raiders, Mauga developed a need for lawlessness and destruction. After an intense battle and near fatal injury, his subsequent cybernetic augmentation only fueled his gluttonous craving for violence and adventure. Joining Talon, he found a new playground for his excessive desires, bonding with Baptiste, the one person who can occasionally rein in his darker urges. Mauga's relentless pursuit of chaos, challenge, and indulgence in conflict epitomizes gluttony, always seeking more, never satisfied. Some heroes embody their sin through lore, some through gameplay, and some through appearance. While there are plenty of attractive heroes in the Overwatch cast, None are as overtly sexual as Widowmaker. She is notoriously over-sexualized in the game, and even her proportions start to leave the realm of reality. Lust is often thought of in only sensual terms, but it goes beyond that. It is more, and someone can have an insatiable desire for anything. And while Widowmaker's story does not directly confront the sin of lust in the traditional sense, it broaches the topic in a metaphorical one. Widow, originally named Anamalie LaCroix, was a talented ballerina, married to Gerard LaCroix, an Overwatch agent. Talon, a terrorist organization, targeted Gerard by kidnapping Anamalie and subjecting her to intense brainwashing to turn her into a sleeper agent. After Overwatch rescued her, she assassinated her husband in his sleep and returned to Talon. There, further neural conditioning and genetic augmentation transformed her skin blue and numbed her emotions, making her the perfect sniper. This process, driven by Talon's insidious desire to create the ultimate weapon, stripped Anamalie of her former self, leaving behind only a shell consumed by the singular purpose of fulfilling Talon's missions. Talon's lust for power destroyed Anamalie's life. Widowmaker's outward appearance and tragic story make her the perfect hero to represent the sin of lust. To describe envy simply, it's to wish that you had something another person has. When you are trapped, a prisoner in your own home, you want nothing more than freedom. And who embodies freedom more than a cowboy? That's why when Ashe met Cole Cassidy in jail at age 17, she was filled with envy. You see, Ashe grew up in a rich but empty home. She was surrounded by wealth, but longed for the love of her absent parents, who were always too busy working to be there for her. Because of her parents' neglect, she acted out, committing crimes, and eventually wound up in jail due to a misunderstanding. This was the last straw for her parents. They told her she would be kicked out at 18. While in jail, Ashe met Cassidy, and as they talked, Ashe began to long for the carefree lifestyle he had. She envied his freedom. After being released, they would go on to form the Deadlock Gang together. It quickly rose to prominence, and this eventually led to Cassidy's capture. Cass would go on to join Overwatch, effectively leaving the gang, and this would culminate in the events of the Reunion animated short. The reason that Ashe is even a notable character in the Overwatch universe is because of her deep envy for a life she did not have, for the freedom she was not afforded. This envy not only drove her to abandon the support of her wealthy family, but also plunged her into a life of crime, and for those reasons, Ashe is the one character on the hero roster that exemplifies envy. While seeing your homeland turned into a nuclear waste might drive some to rise up and seek vengeance, for others it can lead to a never-ending downward spiral into apathy, into sloth. Roadhog, whose real name is Mako Rutledge, hails from the outback of Australia, a region devastated by the Omnic crisis. After the Australian government gifted the Omnium to the Omnics as part of a peace offering, it led to a violent rebellion by the local populace, including Mako. The explosion that resulted from sabotaging the Omnium's fusion core turned the Australian outback into a radioactive wasteland. This drove Mako to a life of apathy and disconnection. Embracing the sin of sloth, Roadhog abandoned his past and any sense of purpose, drifting through the wasteland as a mercenary without ambition or direction. One day, Hog was at a bar when he overheard a man being hassled by some of Junker Queen's guards. They were pressing him about some supposed treasure. If you hadn't guessed already, the man was Junkrat, and he promptly offered Hog half the treasure for his help. From then on, the two were inseparable, wandering the world committing strings of crimes including arsons, robberies, and murders. While Hog may seem active conducting international heists and his physique might suggest the sin most appropriate to be assigned to him would be gluttony, his affectlessness oozes from him. His silence masks a deeper emotional numbness, allowing him to carry out brutal acts with indifferent ease. It makes him a feared and unpredictable enforcer, as well as the perfect Overwatch hero to represent the sin of sloth. Pride is considered the worst of the 7 deadly sins on almost every list. It is the most demonic of the sins, the farthest away from good nature. Pride is the love of one's own excellence, a dangerous overconfidence. Aristotle said pride was to cause shame to the victim, not in order that anything may happen to you, nor because anything has happened to you, but merely for your own gratification. What could be more prideful than to bend morality as you see fit so that you can pursue scientific discovery by any means necessary? Moira is a geneticist first and foremost, willing to do anything to advance the evolution of humanity. She began working for Overwatch's covert ops division, Blackwatch, after her controversial research paper was rejected by the scientific community. While working for Blackwatch, she performed genetic experiments on Reaper, resulting in a mutation that caused his cells to regenerate and decay at a hyper-accelerated rate. After a mission gone bad, Moira wound up joining Talon, where she played God again, altering Widowmaker's genes to slow her heart rate and numb her emotions. This is why Widowmaker is so emotionally cold and her skin blue. While working for Talon, Moira maintained appearances and moved up through the scientific community, eventually becoming the Minister of Genetics in the city of Oasis. Moira is sadistic. Most of her interactions with the other heroes consist of them asking how she can be so cruel, and her replying that she enjoys inflicting cruelty. Moira claims humanity is shackled. She will find the key. She believes she is above the law and morality. Moira is both genius and reprehensible, and for that she earns the label of the Overwatch hero who embodies the sin of pride. While some heroes are truly evil, that doesn't mean they're hated by the community. If you'd like to know which Overwatch heroes are the most hated, click this video here. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in game.